Let's dive into the incredible story of a man who became a legend, working in the shadows to revive a faith that was right on the brink of extinction. This is the story of Saint Joseph Vaz, the apostle in disguise. I mean, it sounds like the plot of a spy movie, doesn't it? But this is a real story. So let's just ask the big question right up front. How on earth did one man, basically a fugitive, manage to single-handedly bring back a community that had been cut off and persecuted for half a century? To really get a handle on his incredible mission, we first have to understand the man himself and the two very different worlds that shaped his unshakable calling. You know, Joseph Vaz wasn't some kind of accidental hero. His path was incredibly deliberate. After he was ordained in 1676, he did something pretty remarkable just 1 year later. He wrote this thing called a letter of enslavement, which was this profound document where he basically consecrated his entire life to his faith. This wasn't just a job for him, you see. It was a total dedication that, by 1686, led him to give up a pretty comfortable position to face the complete unknown. And this slide right here perfectly illustrates why he felt that call so strongly. Just look at the contrast. In his home of Goa, Catholicism was thriving. You had freedom, you had structure. But in Ceylon, which is now Sri Lanka, the situation was absolutely dire. Under Dutch rule, the faith was actively persecuted. Get this, there hadn't been any priests for over 50 years. The whole community was forced into hiding, and their faith was just slowly fading away without any leadership. This was the crisis that just pulled him in. So, with his purpose set, he embarked on what has to be one of the most dangerous missions imaginable. And this wasn't some formal assignment from on high. This was a clandestine infiltration into hostile territory. In 1687, he arrives in Jaffna, a Dutch stronghold. Now, he couldn't just walk in wearing priest's robes. That would have been an immediate death sentence. So instead, he adopted a disguise. To everyone else, he was just an itinerant worker, a poor laborer looking for a job. This allowed him to just move unnoticed through a land where his very presence was illegal. His life became this constant, high-stakes balancing act. He embraced extreme poverty, dressing like a beggar, just to blend in. All of his ministry had to happen under the cover of darkness, holding secret masses and baptisms for these hidden communities. He was a fugitive, always moving, always just one step ahead of the Dutch authorities who were actively hunting him. After years on the run, his journey takes another really dramatic twist. He was trying to expand his work, but instead, he walked straight into a trap, one that wasn't even set by his enemies, but by suspicion and politics. And the irony here is just crushing. He travels to the independent kingdom of Kandy, hoping to find a safe haven where he could minister openly. But thanks to some false accusations, the king saw him as a potential spy. So instead of freedom, Joseph Vaz was thrown into a prison cell. But for a man with his conviction, a prison isn't an end. It's just a new parish. So what does he do? Well, first, he masters Sinhala, the local language, so he can connect with everyone around him. Then, seeing the guards were a bit lenient, he actually built a small hut church right there in the prison. He started his ministry with the only flock he had, his fellow prisoners. He literally turned his confinement into a congregation. And it was from this prison cell that the single most pivotal event of his life would unfold. An event that wouldn't just change his fate, but the fate of the entire Catholic community in Ceylon. The situation was simple, and it was dire. In 1696, a devastating drought hit the kingdom. Crops were failing, people were suffering, and the king was getting pretty desperate. So the king first turned to his own advisors, the Buddhist monks, and pleaded with them to pray for rain. But nothing happened. The skies stayed clear. With his kingdom on the brink and all his other options exhausted, he made a final, desperate move. He summoned the foreign prisoner, Joseph. So Joseph builds an altar right in the middle of the public square and begins to pray. And then, the miracle. The source material describes it so powerfully. As he prayed, the heavens just opened up and a torrential downpour saved the kingdom. But here's the most astonishing detail. The rain fell everywhere except on Joseph and his altar. He remained completely dry. The effect was immediate, and it was absolute. The king, having witnessed this incredible event, was convinced. He didn't just release Joseph from prison, he gave him his royal protection and the freedom to preach anywhere in his kingdom. The fugitive had just become a guest of the state. With this newfound freedom, Joseph Vaz completely transformed. He went from a secret missionary to a master organizer and started laying the foundation for a community that would endure for centuries. And he didn't waste a single moment. By 1697, he was officially appointed Vicar General of Ceylon. When a smallpox epidemic hit, his tireless care for the sick, and regardless of their faith, earned him even greater admiration from the king. He wasn't just preaching anymore, he was building. He created a formal structure of 8 districts, translated essential texts into the local language, and even started advocating for Catholic rights in the Dutch-controlled territories. And the results of his work? They're just staggering. By the end of his life, the community he had revived from near extinction numbered over 70,000 people, an incredible testament to his tireless dedication. He also built a physical legacy, leaving behind 15 churches that served as permanent homes for the growing congregations. And beyond even that, he established this incredible network of 400 smaller chapels, making sure the faith had a home in pretty much every corner of the island he could reach. His protector, the king, died in 1707, but his successor actually became an even greater ally. Worn out from decades of just relentless work, Joseph Vaz died in 1711 at the age of 59, right after completing one last missionary tour. His legacy was so immense that it took centuries for his official recognition to catch up, finally culminating in his canonization as a saint in 2015. So, from a secret fugitive to a celebrated saint, his life was just a testament to singular focus. And it leaves us with a final, powerful question to think about. When you look at his journey, from disguise and imprisonment to building a legacy that still endures today, what does a life of truly unwavering purpose actually look like?